to a more scientific travel. Yeah?
Okay, first slide. So I'm a biochemist. I'm an expert in molecular design, and I'm sure I'm really the outliner of the evening. So I will talk about molecules, big molecules, and their complexity. So I will especially have it about this molecule, and this molecule is called an antibody. So the story I want to tell you is, in fact, what the relation is between llamas, molecular biology, yes, patents, and big money. How can you make money with biomolecules and llamas? Molecular design, that's what I'm going to talk about. And in fact, biomolecules are beautiful examples of molecular design. This beautiful construction, for example, is what plants use to convert CO2, carbon dioxide, into sugar and into woods. This is another example of DNA supervised around histones. So this is in fact the hard disk of each individual cell in our body. So it's comparable to the hard disk of our computer. So the molecule I want to talk about is in fact this antibody. It's a huge molecule. It's a very complex molecule. It's about 1,000 times larger than sugar. That's what we put in our coffee in the morning. These are the antibodies, yes, and that's what my story will be about. Antibodies are in fact specialized molecules circulating in our bloodstream, yes, and they serve in a certain way as watchdogs, yes. So they circulate around in our body the whole time as watchdogs, looking for special species, terrible species. So antibodies are looking for viruses, are looking for bacteria, and in fact what they do is whenever they encounter one of these species, they bind to these terrible things, like in fact predators, yes, bind to their prey. So in fact in medicine, what are we doing? We are using these antibodies, yes, to capture strange things like viruses, just like shepherds, in fact, yes, will use watchdogs to protect their sheep against wolves. So these molecules are really important for medicine. And you will ask yourself, what are camels, what are llamas doing in this story about molecular design? And it's indeed a weird story, but I will talk now about camels and llamas. In animals, yes, and animals like birds, mammals, even humans, yes, these antibodies are really huge and very complex molecules. And this is how the molecules look like in llamas, yes. You immediately see the difference between these molecules in llamas as compared to these molecules in humans. And that's the essential difference. In fact, these molecules in llamas, although they have exactly the same properties as these molecules we use currently in medicine, yes, they are about 10 times smaller. And in fact, it compares a little bit like the evolution in computers, yes? These used to be computers 20, 30 years ago, and now we have the iPod. And in fact, pharmaceutical industry, scientific world really believes that these much smaller molecules will be much more effective, much more cheaper, yes, to produce new and better drugs. Looks like a very nice story, small molecules to make better drugs, but each story, of course, with a nice side, also has a side that is not as nice. And the backside of this story is in fact that llamas and camels are animals of the poor world, yes? You will find llamas in South America, camels, dromedaries, you find them from Africa down to Mongolia. So you will find these animals essentially in the poor world. The discovery of these special properties of these camel antibodies, of these llama antibodies, was made in Brussels. So the molecules come from the poor world, the discovery was made in the rich world. And forced by our sponsors, what did we do? We took the patent on these unique properties of these small molecules. So that means that all the rights to exploit these molecules to make new drugs are in fact the exclusive right of a university in Brussels. The net result is, of course, that big pharma companies are paying us now, yes, to have exclusive rights to use the properties of these poor molecules, of these poor world molecules, yes, to make big business. So it's the big companies now, in fact, that are using these antibodies, for example, yes, to make drugs against cardiovascular diseases caused by too much smoking, by bad feeding, by being too fat, and that's essentially what they are doing. And unfortunately, currently, and probably in the future, it will be the patients from the rich world who will profit most from these molecules from the poor world, because the big pharma companies will not spend their money to develop drugs against malaria for the simple reason that the poor guys who suffer from malaria cannot afford the molecules.